The Story of Christmas, retold by Linda Jennings with illustrations by Gwen and Pat Turret. Now Mary was engaged to a carpenter named Joseph. He too was visited by the angel. Mary's child is the Son of God, the angel told him. Take Mary for your wife. Look after her well, for you will be the boy's father on earth. So Joseph married Mary, and together the young couple looked forward to the birth of Jesus. A few months later, it was ruled that every man in the kingdom must return to the town of his birth to sign a special register of names. Joseph and Mary had to make the long journey to Bethlehem in Judea. Mary's baby was nearly due, and Joseph was worried about her. He saddled the donkey and gently helped his wife onto its back. We will find somewhere to rest as soon as we arrive, he promised Mary. The journey was a long one. By the time they reached Bethlehem, Mary was exhausted. We must find some place to stay, said Joseph. He and Mary walked from inn to inn, but every one of them was full. Have you nowhere my wife can sleep, Joseph? Asked the last innkeeper in town. She is expecting a baby. The innkeeper raised his lantern to Mary's tired face. There is room in my stable, he said. Follow me. The stable was dark and filled with animals, but it was warm and dry. Joseph laid out his cloak on a bed of hay, and Mary sank down, thankful upon it. It was here, in the quietness of the stable, with the cattle breathing softly, that Mary gave birth to her child. She gazed at his tiny sleeping face in wonder. On the hills outside Bethlehem, shepherds were keeping watch. They were keeping watch over their sheep. The night was long and chill, and they sat huddled by their fire. Suddenly a light brighter than the brightest moon shone out in the sky. The shepherds fell to the ground in fear, shielding their eyes from the brilliant light. Do not be afraid, said a voice. I have great news for you. The shepherds looked up and saw an angel, his wings spread across the sky. Go to Bethlehem, the angel ordered. In a stable you will find a baby whose birth has been promised for hundreds of years. He is the Son of God. As the shepherds rose to their feet, a great host of angels appeared, singing joyfully at the news of the wonderful birth. The shepherds hurried through the dark streets of the sleeping town. There's the animals. Just as the angel had said, was the stable with a single bright star shining over it. Inside they found Joseph and Mary and her tiny baby sleeping in her arms. Could this be the Son of God? The shepherds stood in wonder, gazing down at the child. Then one by one they knelt to worship him. Far away in another country, 3 wise men and learned men studied a bright new star in the sky. The star means the birth of a king, said one of the wise men excitedly. Come, we must travel to find him, for our ancient books tell that he will be the King of the Jews and the greatest king of all time. Without delay, the wise men saddled their camels, chose precious gifts for the new young king, and traveled toward Judea, following the star that shone above them. When the wise men reached the city of Jerusalem, they called upon King Herod. We have heard of the birth of a new king, they said. A bright star has guided us here. Herod consulted his priests. He was told that the king of the Jews was to be born in the town of Bethlehem, so it is written by the prophets, said the priests. Then you have found this king? Come back and tell me, Herod said to the wise men, and I shall go to Bethlehem to worship him. The wise men bowed to King Herod and went on their way. Soon the wise men came. As the shepherds had before them to the stable where Jesus lay, Mary and Joseph looked up in astonishment at the sight of the strangers, dressed in fine cloths. One by one the wise men knelt, offering their gifts, caskets of gold and frankincense and myrrh. Mary touched her child's soft cheek. How wonderful this little Jesus, born in a simple stable, should be visited by such grand folk. Now the wise men planned to return to Jerusalem to tell King Herod where the young king of the Jews could be found, but that night they were visited by an angel. Go home another way, said the angel. Herod plans to kill the young king because he is afraid of his power. So the wise men followed the angel's advice and went home by a different route. Herod was furious that the 3 wise men did not return to him, and since he did not know exactly where the baby king could be found, he ordered that every child in Bethlehem under the age of 2 be killed. That night, Joseph shook Mary awake. "Hurry," he said. "King Herod plans to send soldiers to Bethlehem to kill our son. An angel has told me that we must escape to Egypt." They quickly gathered up their few belongings, saddled their donkey, crept quietly through the sleeping town. When next morning Herod's soldiers arrived to carry out their terrible deed, the baby Jesus was far away and safe. A few years later, Herod died, and Joseph was able to bring his family back to Egypt, to their own town in Nazareth, where the young Jesus grew up, a carpenter's son, until, as a man, he became the Savior of the world. I hope you enjoyed the story of Christmas. Have a good day.